There is one thing you need to master. And until you master this one thing, you will never be successful. Now, different people online, different communities refer to it as different things. Some people refer to it as focusing on your inner state, right? Some people refer to it as focusing on the state of the wish fulfilled. Some people refer to it as ignoring your 3D reality, right? Different people refer to it as different things. But in a nutshell, essentially what it is the ability to not focus on your current situation or your current reality and only focusing on the reality that you want, right? And like the goals that you want and what you want to achieve. Okay? So essentially what I mean by that is, let's just say you're someone who, let's say you're in debt or you don't have any money right now. And what you want is you want to be rich, you want to be successful, and you want to, be financially, in a good place, right? If you only focus on what your current situation is, so that could be like you not having money, maybe you're in debt, maybe you're not, making the amount of money that you want to make, maybe you're struggling to sign clients, right? If maybe that could be a fact, and that could be a current reality. But if that's what you focus on, you're never going to be successful. And I want to explain why. The reason for that is because your brain is a servo mechanism. Your brain is a goal achieving mechanism. And essentially what that means is your brain is going to create your reality, right? It's going to push you towards a specific goal. And that goal is created by the thoughts you have, the things you imagine, and your beliefs. So if you're someone who's like, I don't have any money, I'm broke, I'm in debt. Let's say those are the thoughts that are always occupying your mind. Your brain is going to push you closer to those goals. And it's going to keep pushing you towards that because your brain thinks that that's the goal that we should be, achieving for. The goal of not having money, the goal of, being in debt. Right? Obviously that's not the goal that you want, right? But your brain doesn't know that. Your brain is only going to know what you tell it, right? Through your thoughts, through what you imagine and your beliefs, right? However, if you think about what is like the reality that you want, right? What is the version of you that is, living that reality, right? So for example, if you want to be rich and successful, right? You think about, okay, what does that person look like? How does that person move? How does that person act, right? What are the thoughts that, occupy this person's mind on a daily basis? How does he feel when he wakes up? What are his beliefs, right? And if you can answer all those questions and you start moving based on that and those things and just completely ignoring what your current reality is, that's the only way you'll be successful. Because your mind is going to push you towards that, right? As opposed to pushing you and keeping you stuck in your current reality. Now, you might be someone who's sitting there and thinking, well, Jovan, that's really easy for you to say, right? Like you're not someone who's, struggling financially or anything like that at the moment, right? And if you're one of those people who thinks like that, then this is what I want to show you. That's my bank account right now. I am currently in like negative $280, right? And I'm not gonna have any income coming in until the start of this next month, right? And currently today it is the 11th of June, which means I have a whole 3 weeks until I get paid again, right? Now, so you might be thinking like, okay, well, you're not where you want to be, so why are you talking about this, right? And the reason why I'm talking about this is because today I had a call with a prospect, and I was actually able to close that prospect for a 30% rev share, right, for my services. And, that would not have happened if I was operating from a state of, like, oh, I'm like negative $200 and XYZ and shit like that, right? If I was thinking about how much money I currently have in my current state, I would not have been able to secure this deal with this this prospect, right? Because like from like an energetic point of view, he would have been able to like sense my vibe, and he would have been able to be like, yo, like like he would have been able to tell that something was kind of off. But that didn't happen, right? And the reason why that didn't happen is because I had maybe like 1 or 2 days where I was kind of feeling like this way, of feeling fucking shitty and whatnot, right? And if you're someone who's going through something like this, it's okay to like feel that way, right? And if I'm being completely honest, right, like I was feeling very shit. I was feeling a lot of almost like self-hatred in a way. And if I'm being completely honest, right, even right now, like I'm feeling quite embarrassed to share this, right, and to open up about this. But I spent the last like maybe 2-3 days just visualizing and journaling and doing a bunch of different protocols to make sure that like in my mind, when I'm obviously before I have this call, right, in my mind I'm viewing myself as someone who is already like where I want to be. And if I didn't do those things, if I didn't visualize, if I didn't journal, if I didn't meditate, if I didn't, I'll be real, I fucking said affirmations in front of the mirror, right? And you might be like, bro, that's fucking gay as fuck, right? You may think that, and maybe you're right. But the truth is, I don't give a shit. Because I will do whatever the fuck it takes, right? In order to make sure my mind is right so I can achieve all my goals. Right? And if I didn't do all those things, there's a good chance that I wouldn't have been in the state of the wish fulfilled, that I wouldn't have been in the state of, viewing myself as the version of me that I want to be, right? In order to achieve all my goals, right? Because there's a specific version of you out there that like, I always think of it like the multiverse, right? Imagine there's a multiverse out there, right? And there's another universe out there where there's you in that universe, and you've already achieved everything you want in that universe or whatever, right? And that's how I kind of view it, right? So there's a universe out there where there's a Jobin who's already achieved all his goals, and all I have to do is for my next steps to just do whatever he does, think however he does, have the same beliefs as him, and just move like how he would move. And as long as I can do that, I will then become, right, that version, right? And that person who will eventually, end up achieving all his goals, right? And, and you're going to see this, right? Like in the next few months, you're going to see the amount of growth that I'm going to have, right? Because right now, I already have one client right now, and I have another client now that I've just signed, right? And worst case scenario, I'm going to do at least 50K per month with each of them. Right? Now, worst case scenario, let's say I only do 30K per month, right? Even if I only do 30K per month for each of them, I'm still gonna end up making at least like, 10K per month, right? That's still gonna end up happening. But that wouldn't have happened if I was focusing on like my current reality, right? And what's currently going on, right? And if I kept on feeling like shit and feeling like, oh, I don't have money and I'm in debt and all this fucking shit, right? So, but because I didn't focus on that, that's what actually allowed me to sign this client, right? And I have, more people in the pipeline who I'm talking to, who I'm going to have calls with, and I'm probably going to sign them as well, right? And it's just going to keep growing like that, because I already have the skill, and now it's really just about signing clients and really just like, making money, because it's like, I'm just at that point where it's like, it's just like real life is really just kind of catching up to me, and it's just inevitable, right? My success is inevitable at this point. And but once again, like that's not gonna happen if all I'm focusing on is my current what's going on in my life right now. Because I'll tell you, it's not the most ideal, right? And when it comes to my current situation, right, unfortunately life fucking happens, and certain expenses come up, certain things happen that aren't planned, and it causes things to go south, right? That's life, right? But if you don't have the ability to stay focused on the target and stay focused on not what you want out of life, but who you need to become in order for that, like that life to just be a normal regular day, right? So you always want to think like, okay, cool, what do I want out of life? And visualize the person who that life is just a normal regular day for them, right? As long as you can act and be that person, right, that life is going to be yours, right? So that's kind of like what I've experienced. That's my experience, right? And I've believed this for a long time, and you know, this is kind of just proof of that. And you know, if you want more proof, just stick around and you'll see, you know, the amount of growth that I'm going to have in like the next few months, because it's really just a matter of having your inner world dialed the fuck in, right? And your external world will catch up. That's really all it is, right? And that's what's happening to me right now, right? My inner world was locked in on, I'm gonna sign a client. It's very easy for me to sign a client. That's what my inner world was, right? Now for a little while, my external world didn't match that, right? There was a gap, but that gap got filled today, right? Now it's on the same level. Now you can see that, right? Because I was able to sign a client. So, you know, if you're someone who's like, you know, in that situation or in something similar, right? Firstly, right, you're not alone, right? I'm one of those people who was kind of in that spot as well. I kind of still am, as you can see based on my fucking bank account. But, you know, like always ignore your current reality. You have to ignore how you're feeling, ignore how, you know, the thoughts and the beliefs that you might be having, and just strictly focus on who you want to become and what that person thinks and how that person moves. And as long as you can do that, you'll be successful. Okay? And with that, I am out.